Is that a new hat? I haven't seen that one before that I know of.
Yeah. And I haven't whipped this one out yet for the podcast.
I like it. Making me feel like I really need to get some new hats, man.
So I would say probably close to like 35 to 45% of my hats are. No, it's probably more than that. Are fishing hats.
Yeah. Is that what that one is?
Yeah, like it's cast. It's like a rain jacket brand, like gloves and stuff like that.
Nice, makes sense. It goes with the green.
Yeah, we're really green today.
Yeah, I am repping the Cardinals because last week I wore Royals, and the Royals finally got a win. And the Cardinals, which we'll get into, desperately need some help from me. So I am repping today the Molina, the GOAT.
Yeah. They need they need a little bit of help right now.
Yeah, which I have a take on it. And when we talk baseball, we'll go over it. Same thing. I have a take on the Rays, but
Yeah.
I don't think we have to spend a whole lot of time on it. But I do want to figure we can talk about the UConn and a little bit of the Masters to see if you watched any of it. But
yeah.
So anyway, you guys have a good holiday?
Yeah. Had family over. So Quincy and them were up this weekend, so I went out and hung out with them on Saturday. So it was a pretty good weekend.
Nice, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. How about yourself?
Yes, very busy. As it is. I mean, we had some stuff that we did Friday. So we did this Easter egg hunt at work, and we said it starts at 6 p.m. The first people showed up at 4:54 p.m. Went in from there. So that was pretty cool because there's so many new people there, which we had never seen.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then yesterday was Sunday. It feels like it was so long ago. Was a lot of fun. Hung out with some people at work afterwards because, we're out in Kansas City, not a whole lot of actual family here. So got to hang out with them, which was super fun.
Nice. That's always good.
Yep. And then, dude, woke up today, and it was some of the loudest thunder I've heard in a while.
Oh, yeah? You guys get some storms up that way?
Yes. And, what's funny is, I don't even worry about thunderstorms anymore. I'm just like, yeah, not a big deal. Until I hear a tornado emergency, I'm not stressing about it.
Yeah, that's what I am. Even, you live in Oklahoma long enough, you kind of get numb to it a little bit. Like, even like when we lived in the trailer, even if the siren was going off, I still sat in the trailer until I was like, okay, maybe it's getting a little closer, because it always do this thing where we go, oh man, it's heading right towards us, and so we would go over to my uncle's house because he was right across the street. So we'd go over there, get out of the trailer, and then it would always split right between us, and go south of us and go right between us and the next town over. And so I was like, after a while, I was like, I'll wait until I can see that it's actually coming right at us this time.
What if it's dark, man?
I mean, I trust Travis Myers, so I'd sit there and be like, they'd be like, oh, it's on this path, and I'd be like, okay, it undercut us again. So yeah, there was very few times after the first few years I was like, okay, we should probably leave. After that, I was like, I'm good. I'll sit here and wait. If it gets close enough. I mean, there was one time where we had stuff like debris flying around in the air, but
a little bit more stressful at that point. But you're like, whenever the big one in Moore happened in 2012, and they went from tornado warning to tornado emergency. Now that's the one that I care about. Like even tornado. I'm like, I mean, does that really mean anything? What's up, Colin? Thanks for jumping back in. It's the reg. I feel like it's going to be cheers. We're going to be like, Colin,
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and then on top of that, all I had to do was run across the street. So it wasn't like anything huge, like, oh, I got to get my car and go to someone's house. I would just cross the street.
Yeah. Matt jumping in the chat. Welcome back, man. And apparently he's ready for you to go off on Belichick. Yeah. I'm excited. Well, so I'm not really where we live. It's pretty hilly. So when we first moved here almost 2 years ago, I was running a lot more back then. I don't really run as nearly at all anymore now. But whenever the first time I ran out, and one of the big streets here is Broadway, like it is in most cities. and I turn right and I look up and I have no idea where I'm at other than GPS telling me like, hey, this is where I need to end up at the end, whatever. And I look and it's literally just a straight up hill. And I'm like, you got it. I'm committed now. Like, I'm not letting this hill beat me. So there's so many hills over right where we live. So I really don't worry about I feel like they just love flat ground, right? Tornadoes. So
yeah. Well, have you ever heard of like the whole thing about Claremore, that it's like protected by like an Indian chief?
Ah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, there's this whole, it's protected by an Indian chief because there's like on the outside of Claremore there's this giant like hill, and there's like rumors that it's like this Indian chief's burial ground. It's so high up and stuff like that. And the little myth is that he protects the city from the tornadoes, but in all reality it's because it's a valley.
Yeah,
and the tornado won't go into the valley.
Hilltop or valley, and then you're golden.
Yeah.
If you're flat like Kansas or like a lot of Oklahoma, then you're in a bad spot, or Iowa or whatever. But
yeah.
So anyway, all that because I woke up with a lot of loud thunder. So here we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it's like super sunny, warm. Jeez, it's great baseball weather. I'm telling you.
You know it's starting to get like tornado season around here when they start testing the tornado sirens.
Oh yeah, they just started that this last month. They do, but they only do it once a month here.
Oh yeah,
not once a week.
Yeah, so they do it every week.
Yeah. So, well, we're gonna jump into some of the pod news and notes today, the bonus content. So, since you guys joined the YouTube podcast, I'm telling you, you guys are gonna get the early stuff. I don't really have any other words for it, but so we talked about last week when we were recording. They tipped off, and the national championship basketball game was played. And you were correct with UConn. I was trying to pick San Diego State. UConn again demolished. It was like almost a wire-to-wire win. It wasn't really close. So my question was, I mean, they beat everybody by double digits, 2 digits. I mean, technically that's not wrong. So how dominant of a run, what did we see?
I mean, it was for a tournament that we saw a lot of upsets and, a lot of bigger teams go down and a lot of close games. It was a pretty dominant run. I mean, I honestly, I wasn't sure if they had it in them. And like I said, they had, I think it was a plus 120 point differential for the entire tournament.
Yeah. Well, let me throw this out there because they beat a 13 seed first round, of course, then a 5, then an 8, then a 3, and then a 5 in the championship. So does that, I mean, it was a wide open tournament. We noticed that from the very beginning. The ones were truly number ones, but they weren't like head and shoulders above everybody else. Yeah. But to me, I'm like, I mean, that might have been one of the easier paths I've seen to a championship, not having to beat a single one or two.
Yeah, and there is that argument. But I think like we've seen in this tournament was that there was a lot of teams that were good. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of good teams. There wasn't a whole lot of teams that you were just like, man, they got in because they won the conference. It wasn't, you didn't have like a 14 and 17, team make it into the tournament because they somehow won the Sun Belt or something like that. So there was a lot of, there was a lot of good teams in the tournament. And I think that's why we saw so many of like the top teams lose early on, is because those 8, 9 seeds, those, 13, 14 seeds, we had a 16 seed, win. There were so many of those teams that were good. And I think it was a more competitive tournament than we've seen in, previous years. So I still give them all credit because, one, you still had to beat them all. And on top of that, you still beat all of them by double digits.
They did. Yeah. It wasn't like they skimmed by. So the next question is, are some people wanting to push them into blue blood territory? Are they borderline?
You look at the 2000s and the 2010s and now 2020s, they've won in every single one of those decades. So, I mean, it's hard to kind of leave them out. What, they've won 5 since 2000?
What was it, like 98 or something like that was their first one? Didn't they win the one in like late 90s?
Yeah. Yeah, it was was it Rip Hamilton? It was the fall down shot or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, they have been pretty. I mean, yeah, they may not have been like, oh, they won 4 in like 6 years or something. Yeah, but they've won 5. I don't know how we synced up there, but
Makes sense.
yeah. But I mean, you've won. I think it was 5 since 2006, since '98 or something like that. I mean, that's a pretty solid run in a tournament where you're playing. There's 60 plus teams in the tournament each year, and you're having to. It's not like NBA where you can go out and sign all these. You're having to restock and hit on these guys, and yeah, they went through some lulls, especially in the from like 2012 up until about now. They kind of had this really down time, but I mean, Hurley got them turned around. So I mean, I think
Blue Bloods based off of 1990 and forward, yes, but if it's all time Blue Bloods, no.
Yeah, no, I think if you're talking a certain span of time, absolutely. I think all time, not quite there, because back in like the early 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, you weren't really one of those dominant teams. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think you look at it, I mean, Calhoun built just a great program, and Ollie kind of let him slip a little bit there. Then, man, Hurley came in and is taking that program back to where we usually see them.
Yeah, and here they are winning another championship. Quick basketball question I have for you: Luka Doncic, does he stay a Mav?
Yeah, I think they figured something out. I mean, he says that he's happy there as of right now, so I mean that helps at least for the next upcoming season.
Do you feel like you have a crybaby?
Yeah.
I mean, wow, I thought you defended a little. I mean,
no.
Most
I mean,
players are crybabies right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's still young, and so he's still got that in him where he's just. It's kind of typical NBA nowadays, especially younger players, younger superstars. They're going to be whiners. It's just how it is, and it's how basketball is now. I think them not making the play-in, actually, the way they went about it was, I hated it.
Yeah.
But I think in the end, it probably sets them up a little bit better, because they will now get that pick, and then they'll have a couple other first-round picks that they can trade to try to get another piece that can actually fit with Luka.
And get rid of Kyrie.
I mean, they're still going to go try to re-sign Kyrie.
Don't touch him.
And the thing is, I will defend Kyrie in this instance, because I don't think he was the reason they didn't make the playoffs. I think there's a lot of the trade I wasn't happy about. I don't think that he brought. Yeah, I don't think he brought in like this toxicity that we see him bring in a lot of places. What I think one, Jason Kidd needs to be fired. I was against the hire when it happened. I'm not a Jason Kidd guy. I don't think he's a great NBA head coach. He needs to be fired. And then on top of that, what you did is you took a team that was 24th in defensive rate efficiency, and you traded 2 of your best defenders in Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie for a guy that doesn't play defense.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, we got to make up for the offensive deficit. Let's, make the defense even worse. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened. I mean, they were giving up 130 points like it was their job.
Yeah, like it was their job. Yeah, like, hey man, we got a quota to hit. You got to hit 130.
Yeah. And Kidd had this comment like once the trade happened, and teams were scoring a bunch of points on him. He said, "I'd rather give up 130 points than have better offense." And I was just like,
"No,
man, what are we doing?"
No.
That's the guy you want leading your team with a franchise, a generational type player.
Yeah,
and you want that kind of guy running your team, and building that guy up, making, reaching his full potential. That's the one you want, coaching him. I'm not about it. I don't think they fire him because of the connection he has with Dallas and stuff. But man, I think that's one thing they have to do to take that step forward. They made it to the conference championship last year, and not quite sure how that happened with the team that they had. Luka got hot at the right time. I think Brunson was a huge part of that. And then, the whole fiasco there. It's just, I think that Jason Kidd needs to go and they need to bring someone else in. I don't know who. I'm not. Like I said, I'm not big. We're not in the NBA anymore like we used to be. Granted, I did win fantasy basketball.
Did you really?
I did. I somehow snuck it out. I don't know how.
Wow. Upset alert right there.
I mean, winners know how to win, I guess. I
guess so.
Just,
how many championships did you win in this league that's 20 years old?
So, I've only won 2 in the basketball, but they have been in the last 3 years.
Wow. Well, going out on top, man. Way to go. Hats off to you. I'm going to keep my hat on right now, but hats off to you.
I'm just saying, I think it speaks to how well that we know just fantasy, period, because I watched maybe a total of 15 NBA games this year, maybe. Yeah. And somehow I win. Like, I was like, there's no chances this week.
Right, yeah.
I had, we had the limited, the acquisitions and stuff like that. Yeah. I had enough, but for some reason this week it was only 4 instead of 5 for the weekly ads. Don't know why, but somehow I was able to finagle it, and Jason didn't picked up one person. Didn't pick up a single person other than, I'm not quite sure, and I don't know if he was like overly confident. He had better players than I did.
Yeah.
But I had more people play.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
And somehow I snuck out a win in 2 out of the last 3 years. Just saying.
We're going to go through some quick picks before we get to the podcast. I think let's do the podcast this week because we're getting to draft prep season. Dude, here they are building everything. It's going to be a lot outside, which I did not realize. Yeah. So it's going to be really cool, but they're setting up all the rafters and all the scaffolding and stuff right now this last week. So as we build up more stuff for the draft, let's do that. But quick hitters, who you got? Because this is not a basketball podcast, but we still have interest a little bit. Heat or I almost said Falcons. This is not helping. Heat or Hawks? Who you got tomorrow?
I'm gonna go with our boy Trae Young. I'm gonna go Ice Trae.
Wow. Okay, in Miami, I'm gonna go with Jimmy Buckets. Assuming he's playing. I have no idea if he's hurt or not.
Yeah, honestly, like I said, I don't know who's all playing with, but I'm going with the OU boy. I'm going to take him out. Okay. Why not?
I'm fine with it. Then the other game, we do know that Rudy Gobert is not playing. Wolves versus Lakers.
Yeah, I think the Lakers, the way they're playing right now, I think that should be an easy win for them.
Okay, we got Bulls and Raptors.
I'm going to say Bulls.
Bulls. Okay. I'll go with Bulls too because I'm not really excited about either of those. But this is the big one I wanted to know. No Zion again, and it's his 3rd year out of 4 seasons, and he hasn't played more than 30 games. This is a problem.
Yep.
But this is also the NBA. And hats off. Let's give a shout out to Mikal. Which Bridges is it that keeps playing all the games? He's got 392 consecutive games.
Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges. Give a shout out to him. I mean, that was. I'm tired of seeing guys just miss because of a toe bruise. This guy is going out every single day, so I'm super excited about it. Ian, welcome back to the show. So the Thunder versus Pelicans. Who do you got?
Oh, I got Thunder. I'm going young. Man, I think this might be a team. Yeah, they're young. This is a team I would not want to face just because they are young and they really don't have anything to lose right now.
Right? They don't even have Chet, right? Like he hasn't been playing.
Yeah. No, he hasn't played. No, not at all.
So I hope they win. I didn't realize it had only been like 2 years since they had been in a play, or 3 years since they'd been in the playoffs. It feels like 8.
Chris Paul was when was the last time they were in was COVID year, right?
Probably 2020. Yeah, because they missed 2 straight off season. Yeah, or postseason.
Yeah, it was like when Chris Paul was there and whoever else was on that team. I can't tell you anymore. I just remember Chris Paul.
Yeah, Serge Ibaka probably.
Yeah.
Who's the backup point guard they had behind Westbrook for a while? The young kid, Eric Maynard. There it is. Yeah, he was probably on the team.
Eric Maynard.
He's gonna have 4 years, I remember. Yeah.
So I don't think Eric Maynard was on that one.
Oh man! All right. So, if you feel like you're good to go, I think we're ready. But before we do that, you said, Ian, man, I appreciate the shout out right there. You're not cool if you don't subscribe to the W Podcast, which is correct. Did we get? Well, say that. I'll ask that question earlier. Did we get the person? The jersey?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
It will be sent out in the next day or so.
Nice. Okay. If I need to send anything for postage, just let me know. I have no idea how much it is to ship.
You're good. You're good.
All right. You ready?
All right. Yeah, we're ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Welcome back, everyone, to the W Sports Podcast live on YouTube as we speak. If you didn't know this already, be sure to head over to YouTube. You can subscribe to the channel, join the chat every single week, put in your takes, put in your thoughts and your questions for the podcast, where Tubby and myself get to read them every single episode. Welcome back to the show, Tubby.
It's great to be here. I mean, we are like in this like almost perfect like sports time. You got baseball that started up. You got the draft coming up. I mean, if you're a hockey fan, hockey playoffs are starting. NBA playoffs are starting. I mean, you kind of got a great, like, a sport for everyone, really, is going on right
everyone. The Masters just happened.
Yeah, the Masters.
And so that's the sign of, hey, golf season is officially here, regardless of LIV, you know, where you stand on that. But you have that. And then, like you said, the draft, but spring football games are happening in college. So that's pretty exciting. Lots of stuff where there was finally a Colorado Buffalo who finally got his jersey number. He earned it. Have you heard that?
No.
Yeah. So nobody has a number on Colorado's football team until they've earned it in practice, which I'm okay with. I'm like, okay, that just kind of breeds that spirit of, hey, listen, nobody's just because maybe you're senior doesn't mean you're starting. You need to earn it.
Yeah, no.
That team has been so bad they need to start somewhere. Maybe this is a good spot.
That's respectable. I'm okay with that.
This is what I'm saying. Give it 5 years, man.
Give it 5 years. I don't know.
Give it 5 years. You just watch. I mean, if Georgia's going to be good this year, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in 5 years, if they're not careful, if they don't have some checks and balances here.
Still don't see it.
All right, so we're going to start today with some NFL news as we head into the draft season. It's April. It's officially draft season. We are like 2.5 weeks away from draft. And if you did not know, Tubby has been releasing like daily pretty much his draft prospects. So they're usually 2 parts. And so you can watch them wherever you're watching our content, whether it's YouTube, which is at the W Sports Podcast, or Tubby, where can they find the other ones?
Instagram, at the.w.podcast on Instagram, or Twitter. You can find it at the_W_podcast. And if you're part of like the cards and you're in the Discord, I put them in there also.
What a guy. So we're gonna continue on as we go there. And someone in the chat on YouTube, they already mentioned, take it easy on Belichick, Tubby. So we're gonna start with Bill Belichick, Mac Jones. They continue their, I'm not gonna say drama, but just tensions moments.
Yeah.
What are you feeling?
So we kind of hinted at something towards the end of the season, but man, this whole situation could have all been avoided last year if Bill Belichick would have hired an actual offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
You bring in 2 guys, one that's defensive-minded coach, never coached on the offensive side, a special teams coach, never coached on the offensive side, and you make them co-offense coordinators at first, but then one's calling the plays and the other one's a quarterback coach. And everyone expects Mac Jones to be okay with this and thrive in something where he has no offensive-minded guy in the coaching staff at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I was reading at some point, Belichick started calling plays. And everyone's like, oh, Zappy was way better and all this. And it was so bad that you had a guy, Brian Hoyer, who has been part of this organization, I don't know how many times and for how many years, go to Belichick and say, hey, man, something's wrong. This is not right. The way this is going, you've got Patricia out here trying to call plays. He doesn't know what he's doing. Joe Judge is trying to coach us up, in a position he's never coached before. Yeah. And you know what they did? Cut him.
Yeah.
A guy that has gave so much to this organization as a backup quarterback to Tom Brady and, Mac Jones a year and all these other people, and you're just going to cut him out because he voices his opinion that, hey, Bill, you messed up here. And so I guess Mac Jones and Patricia, I guess every single day during practice, we're always getting in arguments, yelling at each other. Patricia walking off the field, or Mac Jones, walking off the field. So what does Mac Jones do? He calls up the one guy he knows that has been in a Bill Belichick coaching staff, and that's Bill O'Brien.
Mm-hmm.
And Belichick goes off, gets mad, saying, disrespecting me. You're going outside of, our coaching staff. And all he did was call up Bill O'Brien and say, hey, how do I handle this? How do I go about understanding what they're trying to teach me whenever I don't know? These guys don't really know. And I think it was the easy hire last year to go get Bill O'Brien, to bring him in. He's been in Alabama. He was with Mac Jones just a very short period, not a whole lot, but he knows Mac Jones. Mac Jones knows him. He's been in Belichick's offense, he's been in Belichick's, coaching staff before. And you go and get, Patricia because you're afraid that O'Brien will come in and do such a good job, he'll be out in 1 year. Like, if I'm the owner, if I'm Kraft or the GM or what, I'm mad. I'm mad that you stole a year from our franchise quarterback of building him into even better quarterback. I mean, the numbers his rookie year, weren't, amazing.
He was considered to be rookie of the year, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, there was a time when they're like, oh, future looks bright in New England.
Yeah, he was the best rookie quarterback out of that group, and that included Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. And you take it, and then you just basically threw away a whole year of building him into a better quarterback and taking your your organization a step further, outside of Tom Brady, and you did nothing except for set him back. And everyone's like, oh, Mac Jones is horrible. And so now it sounds like he's lost the locker room. Like the coaching staff and the locker room aren't on Mac Jones' side. They're on Zappy's side. And I'm like, you want to get on him, but this is all. I shouldn't say all. I'll say 99.9% of it is on Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And the other 0.1 is on the upper management, Kraft and GM, because they didn't do anything about it. And you're just letting him run this team, and it's not going well. And hopefully, I think that there's a lot of hope for them this year because of Bill O'Brien knows what he's doing. He knows how to, coach an offense. Yeah, he may not be the best head coach. We saw that, with the Texans. Well, but the guy knows how to
any favors either. But you're correct. Yeah. He does. He's been very successful as an offensive coordinator, even in today's NFL.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That and then the John Elway thing. I think that one, that was like, no, it's time. We've seen enough mistakes. Mm-hmm. I think the nail in the coffin was obviously Russell Wilson being an absolute disaster. And so if you're not careful, Bill Belichick can end up being here this time next year, kind of being in the same thing where they go 7-10 or 6-11, and they're like, I think it's time. Colin in the chat said that he needs to retire. Belichick needs to retire. And, he's one of the older coaches, but he has been so successful. It's going to almost be where it has to be on his terms, or at least behind closed doors. They're a mutually agreement on it. Man, it's just crazy to think that we're like, dude, this is like in 3 years we've seen Belichick go down and Tom Brady go down and Aaron Rodgers go down. And you're just like, what happened? The NFL, as we've seen the last 20 years, as just what?
Yeah. And I think you look at this whole situation and the argument, was it Belichick or was it Brady? I don't know. I think now with everything that's happened, you got to go. It was Brady. Brady was the one because he was able to go to a team. Yeah, they had a great defense and they had some offensive players, but they were able to win without Tom Brady. And then first year there, he goes wins the Super Bowl. We haven't seen a whole lot of success from Belichick outside of Tom Brady. Even, with Drew Bledsoe. I mean, he had one decent year with Bledsoe, and then Bledsoe gets hurt, and then we see the whole Tom Brady thing. But, I mean, he had experience as a head coach before that with the Cleveland Browns. And so...
Well, I don't think they ever won more than 10 games without Brady. Like even Castle was 10. I think Mac Jones won maybe 10 his first year. I can't remember what they won.
Yeah.
But never. So I mean, clearly it says that he's a good coach, but maybe the greatness truly did come from the greatest quarterback of all time, being Tom Brady. We just gotta give all due respect there. So I think at least if it's not finished in New England, I think that's the biggest thing. It does look like it's done in Denver, that they're moving on to a different role. He did make a comment that he was ready to go ahead and help out any way necessary, but I think they're like, nah, bro, we're good.
See, I read something the other day also that he was like, yeah, I think I'm kind of getting to the end where I'm just done. I don't have that fire for football.
He should, enjoy life, man. You don't have to be all around the Denver Broncos football team.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you probably need to because you weren't great at what you were doing.
Yeah, he wasn't. He didn't. I think he wanted to be like John Lynch and the success that he just had, and he just hasn't. I mean, they were for a while. So
you look at the quarterback history from a guy that you think, he was one of the best quarterbacks. He should be able to have an eye for quarterback talent. Boy, was that not it.
Well, speaking of that was not it. Cam Newton now has gone from I'm probably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL still to being in a pro day as a 30-something-year-old. Then to say, you know what? Actually, I've decided I would like to give you a list of people I'd like to be a backup for. This is getting out of hand. Why do we care?
Yeah. Who's giving him the time of day to put this stuff on the internet? I mean,
I don't know.
Then on top of that, he's like, well, I want to go mentor these young quarterbacks. I don't want to be mean, but you're the last person out of these guys out there that I want mentoring a CJ Stroud or Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson.
I could think of guys that probably want less, but that would probably cost less. I don't think Cam Newton, we'll get to this here in a second, a different deal that got way more money than I think was due. But Cam Newton, I could see him being a good quarterback, for a guy because he did have success in the playoffs. And so you think of Lamar Jackson and how he has had the success in the regular season, but not in the postseason. Maybe that'd be a good one. But the problem is he's not good enough to play. I don't even think he could play in the XFL at this point.
I mean,
USA football. USFL that's coming up here in this month, I think. Yeah, it's not going to he can't even play in those leagues. Why doesn't he go play there?
Yeah, I mean, he really didn't have a whole lot of playoff success. Yeah, he made it to the Super Bowl, but man, that was because that defense was pretty solid, and that's about the only really good year Cam Newton had. I was never a Cam Newton guy, and I thought, at the beginning of his career, I was like, man, I was wrong.
Yeah, well, I think we were wrong if you weren't buying into it. He was solid his first couple of years, and got to a Super Bowl.
But then we saw exactly what happens to a running quarterback.
Yeah.
You can't throw the football, you ain't going to play.
The other thing I think for him was that his big injuries came in his throwing ability, not necessarily even his legs. So some running quarterbacks can transition and be great passers as well. It just matters when one of those injuries happen. And for Cam Newton, he was not about to slide. He was not going to go to bounds. He was a big guy. I mean, I don't blame him.
Oh, yeah.
MVP caliber seasons. So I just think he should probably call it quits. Or go play in the USFL. I think that would be fun. I'd be more likely to watch now.
And the fact that he was like, there's not 32 quarterbacks in the NFL that are better than me. And I was like, I made a comment saying, yeah, you're right. There's probably closer to 40.
Did you tweet him or something like that? That would
No, I should have. But I mean, that's how I feel. I honestly don't think he would even be a top tier backup quarterback. He's proven he can't be a top tier backup.
Or Cam Newton.
I'll take Bailey Zappi all day.
Bailey Zappi. Yeah, sorry, I said Billy. Doesn't matter. Russell Wilson or Cam Newton?
I'll take Russell.
Tyler Huntley or Cam Newton?
I'll take Huntley.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that one right there shows you that it's 40 for sure. Okay.
I mean, you got to look at it. What he did as a backup for the New England Patriots a couple years ago, nothing. Absolutely was horrible. Backup last year for the Panthers. He had one game where he ran for 3 touchdowns because they brought him in on goal line, and that was it.
He got picked up in every fantasy football league the next week.
Yeah.
He's coming back.
Proceeded to have maybe one more touchdown the rest of the final 8 games of the season.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where if you want a guy that can come in and just bulldoze his way in the the 1 or 2 yard line, okay, cool. But he's not a backup quarterback.
No, and I think the biggest problem is just the injury to his shoulder. He just can't throw the ball downfield I'll never get that image of him throwing with the Patriots. A little not like a dig route or not a dig route, just an in, and it just 5 yards short, right in the dirt, and it looked like he stepped up to make the throw, and it was just his body wouldn't let him do it. So while we're talking on the quarterback carousel, Carson Palmer, one of the Bengals' greatest quarterbacks of all time, clearly shows that he's biased and talks about how Burrow is better than Mahomes because he's more consistent. Okay, I don't want to give a whole lot of time to this, but this is absolute trash. I saw a different quote this week, and I loved it. And it said Mahomes has the ability. I'm not going to say he is yet, but he has the ability to do what Michael Jordan did for basketball and completely be the best, not even close. I mean, you've seen it with the AFC Championship games already and going to Super Bowls and the amount he has already at this point in his career compared to guys like Tom Brady. I'm not saying he's better than Tom Brady, but I'm saying the trajectory, the potential is already there with his incredible skill set. And for you to tell me that Carson Palmer to tell me that Burrow is better because he's more consistent, how is that true?
Yeah. I mean, look at the numbers. Patrick Mahomes is – are you there?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hold up. Give us a second. Huh? Oh, hold on. It's not you. It's not you.
Oh, okay.
It's here we go. Wow.
You're muted.
We're back. There we
Can
go.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
you. Okay, but he says that he's more consistent, but the numbers don't even show that, because you look at Patrick Mahomes' worst year as a starter, and that's minus 4 games because he dislocated his knee. His statistical numbers are better than any year than Burrow's best year, which was last year, in any season, and he's consistently the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't know how you can say that. And then on top of that, he said one of the things I heard him say was, "Well, I think where it comes from is that Mahomes tries to extend the play too much, and there's too many times where he takes a 4-year loss." How many times did your guy get sacked?
I know. And
how many
sacks don't even matter, which he's sometimes okay with in the regular season.
No, I get it, but you talk about a 4-year loss. Your guy getting sacked 9 times in a game, probably getting sacked 4 or 5 yards, if not more, on each time. You're taking more than a 4-yard loss trying to extend a play. I mean, I'll take Patrick Mahomes trying to extend a play over just about any quarterback in the NFL, because when Patrick Mahomes extends the play, you're going to see magic.
Exactly. And we already know that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes with one leg is the second best quarterback in the NFL. And then you can have anybody else. You can have Burrow. You can have Allen. You can have whoever else. I don't really care right now. It's just Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. And I mean,
ridiculous.
I think on one foot, he's still the best quarterback. Yeah. Hurts may have had better numbers in the Super Bowl, but I mean, who won?
That's exactly.
Your guy played him on one leg and lost. So I don't understand the argument how anyone could say right now that any quarterback in the NFL is better than Patrick Mahomes. Maybe Rodgers 2 years ago, you had an argument.
Yeah.
But no one now in the NFL is close. It's Patrick Mahomes, and then you got the next guys. I mean, the scale is not even close.
It's not even close. But he's a Bengal. He's a former Bengal. And he did have a good career with the Bengals overall. Not Burrow, but we're talking about Carson Palmer here. Don't forget, he was also an Oakland Raider for 2 years, and it was not a good 2 years. But I will say it shows. I mean, this is a show. Come on now. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just when I saw that, I was just like, that's got to you are joking. You can't sit there and watch that game and go, yeah, he's better.
Yeah. All right, so we don't spend all our time. There's 2 more quick notes before we get into the baseball news because, hey, baseball season is rolling around. We got a first full week of baseball we're going to talk about and break down. But before we get to there, Tyreek Hill says he might be retiring after the 2025 season. Do you believe that?
He said, I'm going to finish out my contract and I'm hanging him up.
Do you feel like that's true?
I think so. I mean, he seems like a guy that he says he wants to get into the business side of the NFL. And I mean, that'll be about 10 years in the NFL. He'll be right on the edge of 30. So, I mean, maybe he's not long for a long NFL career.
You know what the business side of the NFL is right now? Making money. And you know where he can make the most money right now? Playing wide receiver, being incredibly great at it, which he is. I mean, you cannot argue. He went and played with Tua, who we don't think is a top 10 quarterback, and still lit it up. Still did a great job. Made Tua look really, really good, like an MVP candidate before he got concussed 8 times. I think this is just posturing for some sort of money thing, or, hey, I'm going to be playing. What I would expect is after 2025, he's not with the Dolphins. He's with a different team he thinks he can win a championship with and get paid well, which don't blame him. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. My one thing is I wonder if he's playing it smart going, okay, speed is my friend. Speed is the one thing I have because he's not a great route runner. I mean, he's really not. And so he's had hamstring issues over the last couple of years. You see him limping a lot, even though he still stays out there. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's noticing that his body is breaking down. And potentially he's going, okay, I don't know how much more of it I can go because really him running as fast as he can is what's made him a really good player in the NFL. And maybe he's noticing the speed is ticking down a little bit and he's, getting, tweaking that hamstring a little bit more than, normal. So maybe he's playing it smart and going, okay, I'm going to go out on my own terms, go out on top. And I'm not going to be like Deshaun Jackson, who's trying to relive glory days and be the speedster on the outside and play for 15 teams in the NFL and somehow still bouncing around and making NFL rosters.
Yeah. I think that's a great take on it to just rebuttal what I was saying with the money thing. But as soon as they back up 15 million or 20 million a year, I mean, that's literally what OBJ just got, 15 million after he missed a whole year as repeatedly. When was the last time Odell was truly great? Now, 15 million is not necessarily great money, but
the second to last year in New York.
Okay, what year was that?
So he's been 2018.
2018 was the last year he was there. So he had 6 touchdowns, 1,000 yards, 12 games. The year before that, he was hurt. The year before that, 100 catches, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. He has not had more than 6 touchdowns in his season since 2016. He hasn't had more than 1,000 yards since 2019. He hasn't had more than 190 catches except since 2016. He hasn't had more than 75 catches since 2018 when he had 77. Guys.
I mean,
nope, that's right. That is correct.
Yeah, I've never really looked at Odell Beckham, even in his heyday, early on in his career. Never looked at him and thought, okay, this is a legit number 1 receiver. And they were talking today like, oh, there was arguments at times that he was the best wide receiver in the NFL. I was like, never in my argument. I mean, you had DeAndre Hopkins, you had Devontae Adams, you had other guys, Antonio Brown. I mean, those years of Antonio Brown in, Pittsburgh were some of the most dominant years as for a wide receiver. So never once did I think Odell Beckham was the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL, let alone a consistent number 1 wide receiver on a team.
Yes.
And everyone's like, I don't understand it. And I'm like, there's a lot of smoke, saying there's no momentum for them going forward. The Ravens and Lamar Jackson. I'm like, I feel like there's no way that Odell Beckham signs that contract, even if it is, for the most money any team was offering. He doesn't sign that contract if there's not a good chance that Lamar Jackson is going to be the quarterback, because there's reports coming out that Lamar Jackson recruited him to the Ravens. Why is Lamar Jackson going to recruit him to the Ravens if he ain't going to be there?
Yeah, that's a great point. And this probably would put him as the best receiver on that team, though.
Outside
healthy Mark Andrews. But I think that's a good point. The multiple layers that we talk about with sports. Mm-hmm. I think you look at him and you think, okay, this is a sign of the right direction, because you can't pay OBJ and then not pay Lamar.
Yeah.
15 million.
I guarantee you, if they don't sign Lamar's going to go, okay, so you rather pay a wide receiver who's had 2 ACL injuries, $15 million guaranteed, $18 million guaranteed, overall, and you're not willing to pay me as one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Gotcha. You're worried about my injuries, but this guy just comes up, 2 ACL injuries in the last 4 years, but yet you're going to side with him.
Yeah.
And give him a contract when you don't have a quarterback to throw the football to him.
Yeah.
So I think that the only way that that deal got done was because the momentum is more on track with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson reuniting at some point.
Which I kind of hope. He's a Baltimore Raven. You want him and Harbaugh to kind of still stay connected. I think it's just good for football. It'd be good. Mm-hmm. We don't need to see him go to Vegas or something like that. And another team. You just don't need it.
The problem is, don't look like there's another team.
I know. Maybe the Jets. Maybe the Jets will get, anxious and say, fine, forget this Aaron Rodgers thing, whatever this is, and move on.
Joe Douglas, he said Saturday, it's getting done. Rodgers will be a Jet.
Sure. I think, I actually do think. When do you think it happens? Because I have a thought.
I think it happens next week.
Yeah, I think it happens before the draft.
Yeah. You would almost think. I don't know. I mean, there's the argument that the Packers don't have to have it happen next week. No, within the couple weeks.
But the Jets do. They need to
know
where to go.
Yeah. And so I think that's where the leverage may have shifted more to the Packers and what they are wanting, because the Packers, for them, it's smarter for them to hold off until after June 1st, because you get $24 million in salary, in cap space.
Wait, yeah.
Yeah. And so they're okay. Yeah. So they're like, hey, we'll ask what we want, and you are desperate enough to take him. You want him. You're going to give us close to what we're asking. I'm sure there'll be some give and take, but I mean, if you're the Packers, at that point, you're almost guaranteed if he does, the trade's not done before the draft, you're at least getting the first round pick next year. Yeah, maybe not be as high as the 13th pick this year, but you're for sure getting the pick next year, and it sets you up, I think, almost a little bit better, just in case if Jordan Love doesn't perform, you have 2 picks next year that you can trade up with 2 really good quarterbacks in the draft.
What if, would you, as a Packers fan, would you want to see your team absolutely tank this year on purpose to get Caleb Williams? No. But you think you're better than any quarterback that's out here. You just don't want to see your team lose.
Yeah, no, I don't want to see my team purposely lose for a guy that, I think he could be the best. He's the best quarterback in recent history. I think he's better than Trevor Lawrence. I really do. I think he has a chance to be one of those guys that is pushing, Patrick Mahomes over the, next 10 years.
I think it depends on where he lands, but yes. I hope it's in the NFC.
I don't want them to push for a guy that they hope is good. And we don't know Jordan Love's going to be good. What I saw, I think he can be a good NFL quarterback, and he probably won't be as good as Caleb Williams or Drake May, to say the least. But I don't want to tank for a guy and then it blow up in my face, and you are now left with nothing. Because if you mess up with Jordan Love and you say you bench him or something, you're trying to tank and you don't play him, now you lost him, and say he goes off and has a good career somewhere else. Now you just really look dumb because you traded up for the guy, never gave him a chance to play, and now you struck out in the draft because either Caleb Williams or Drake May didn't hit like you thought they would.
Yeah. No, that's good. All right. Draft is coming up. If you want to continue on with the draft prep, just stay in tune with the W podcast, sports podcast, wherever it is, whether it's YouTube or on the social medias. You're going to want to do it because Tubby is extremely informed and he's ready to go.
We got quarterbacks and running backs still out. We haven't put out those videos yet.
You should be. Can we do it? Like, I feel like on those you should almost do like, you do 4 or 5, and then you do 1 for 3, 1 for 2, 1 for 1. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm.
This would be fun. I don't know if you have enough content for that, but it don't have to be very long.
Oh no, I very, very well could. I'm just trying to think if I have enough time. Time before the draft would be the one thing. We might be able to.
Yeah, I don't know. We can map it out. But just stay tuned because I don't know. I'm interested to see who he's got. So we're going to move over to the Major League Baseball season. And you can't tell us right now if you're listening to it, but I am repping my Cardinals jersey today because I have to have some hope for this team, this Cardinals. Last week I wore my Royals jersey because the Royals hadn't won yet, and I'm in the KC area. I've got to see the Royals win. I want to go when I go to a Royals game. I want there to be fans there.
Yeah, definitely.
And so anyway, it worked. And the Cardinals right now, whoever made the Cardinals schedule, I'm a little upset about it. Okay, hear this. Colin in the chat, I think you're going to be appreciative of this. You give us the two best offensive lineups in baseball. You give us to start off the year. Thank you very much, the Toronto Blue Jays. Love it. Great. It's at home. That's nice. But it's a team you're not familiar with, a team that is extremely deep on the offensive side and has really good pitchers who did not have a great series. But they won that series 2-1. Then they go on and they play the best lineup in baseball before they have any injuries. And the Atlanta Braves, who we both pick, I'm pretty sure that was our pick for both of us to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? So thank you very much for that. All right, let's move on. Let's go to a team, the Milwaukee Brewers, who have two aces and have got off to a hot start on the road. What are we doing? Who made this schedule, right? This is brutal. Brutal schedule. That's why the Cardinals are 3-6 as we record. It's a long season. I'm not worried about it. I'm frustrated. Now let me flip it. Everyone's talking all excited about how the Tampa Bay Rays are the world's best team and they're putting up a run differential we haven't seen since 1884 and the printing press was invented. Who are the worst three teams in baseball right now?
Dude, I have the same exact thought. You start the season with the Tigers, the Nationals, and the A's.
And literally the three AAA teams they played, and they smoked them. Who's surprised?
Yeah, I thought that was my exact thought was when they're like, oh man, they're 9-0. I'm like, you tell me who they played. You played three teams that you could argue are the worst team in baseball. The three teams probably that you go. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I don't know. The A's are the worst. No, I'm gonna go with the Tigers, or I'm gonna go with the Nationals, and you're probably all gonna come to the consensus that go, well, we just picked the three worst teams, so yeah. I don't get the hype. Yeah, it's awesome that we get to see Wander Franco hitting and playing good, and you got some other, Rasmussen or Rasmus or whatever it is, and then you got Springs, pitching great. It's awesome to see some guys like that, but you ain't gonna tell me that this team is like some unworldly team and that they finally, all the pieces are fitting. You're playing some of the worst teams, or not some of the worst teams, with some of the worst starting pitching in baseball on all three teams, and you're like, wow, they got a run differential of plus 57. Well, yeah, of course they do.
I know they're playing against you and me pitching it to them. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you're talking like it's something special. They just beat a team in a 3-game series who had a total of people at the games less than 11 AAA teams the other night.
Yeah,
in the Oakland A's.
The A's in their attendance of less than 4,000 people.
Yeah, you had 11 AAA teams have more attendance than one of these teams, and you're acting like it's some feat of God that they were able to beat, that the Rays were able to beat them.
Oh man, it was close.
Yeah, I just can't.
Right now, they are. Wow, this is sad. I looked at the ESPN. They're one of the better ones up to date, usually on sold tickets. And I was like, good Lord, Oakland is averaging 11,000 sold tickets. So that was a bad day, right? It was a bad team. I'm pretty sure they're playing like the Nationals or something like that themselves. Like, it was not good. But they've sold 68,000 tickets so far total. And they've played 6 games at home. So that was real bad. The Jays still have not played a home game. Sorry, Colin. Okay. I have not played a home game yet. But they do this week. So they get to open up the new stadium, or the renovated stadium, not new stadium.
Yeah.
The Dodgers are averaging just under 50,000 at 49,000. Then the Phillies, which you would expect because they just won the World Series. And then the Cardinals are 3rd. Atlanta, again, a solid team. San Diego's 5th. Surprising this, the Yankees are 8th and the Angels are 6th. Look at that.
Whoa. Crazy.
Throwing that out
But
there.
yeah, I mean, we're talking about an A's team last year who they on average had about 6,000 to 7,000 attendance. So I mean, this is my take.
Okay.
If I'm Rob Manfred and if I'm every single other owner in baseball, I'm going to Manfred and I'm saying, okay, we got to force this guy to either spend money or we're going to force him to sell to someone that will move the team to Las Vegas.
I think he wants to move to Vegas. I think he's intentionally putting a garbage. It's literally Major League, the movie, playing out in front of us today. He's like, listen, no fans are coming out here. Yeah, because you're putting garbage. Oops. And then he's like, I guess we'll move. And so he's going to wait till a team will give him more money so he doesn't have to spend his money because the dude is cheap. I think you're right.
No, Manfred told him. They said, we'll waive all fees, all relocation fees. We'll waive them all for you if you move to Las Vegas. And he said,
I think he wants Vegas to like give him more money to build the stadium. I don't think he wants to put in that much money. I don't know what the numbers are, but have you looked anything on that?
No, I have not.
Okay.
But you've got to look at it at this point, though. How much money are you making? Probably none.
He's getting more money from like the shares or whatever, you know.
Yeah, the TV. Yeah, that's about it. And it's probably a good chunk of money, but you're still having to pay your players. You're still having to pay people to work at the stadium, and you're getting 6,000 to 7,000 people to come in. And I guarantee you, those ticket prices are very, very low. And then that's not on top of having to pay California state taxes.
That's very true. Very true.
I guarantee you move to Las Vegas and you're going, you'll have to spend the money, but you will make a lot more money as that owner in Las Vegas than you will ever see in Oakland. And it's sad because Oakland is a storied franchise in baseball. It's not like they've always been this bottom dweller of a team. I mean, they were winning World Series in the 80s and the 70s. They had legit teams. I mean,
yeah,
I don't.
But they were cheap back then too. Like they wouldn't play Reggie Jackson or anything like that. Couldn't
absolutely.
Keep
but they won.
I know. Yeah, they absolutely won.
And they have to do something because this is just ridiculous.
Yeah. I think any team that's going to tank this hard this long, you got to really consider like, well, we have the wrong owners in place.
Yeah, I think they need to make him sell. I think they need to force him to sell this team.
Forget, you know what? That's fine. But then how do you stop the next guy? I think you were onto something, and we talked about it last year. Put in a salary cap floor.
Yeah.
If these teams are going to not spend any money, it's going to help bring in at least bridge the gap a little bit. So you never look at like projections for the season with these like projection systems for like win and loss records. Mm-hmm. And it always has the number one team winning 95 games. And it's like, oh, that's a lot. And then the worst team loses, 95 games because they never have extremes. But in reality, the Dodgers win 111, the Astros win 106, the Yankees win 105, and 3 teams lose 110. Like, that's the reality of it. We can bridge that gap and have better baseball. And at least make it worth people's time to go out there. The game is much better. Now that there are more stolen bases, not as many as I'd like to see, but there are more stolen bases. The game is moving much, much quicker. I mean, it's a better atmosphere for baseball, and you're putting a bad product out there. They do need to figure out a way to get rid of this bad ownership scheme.
Yeah. I mean, maybe baseball helps build the stadium. I don't know, but you've got to do something because this is just embarrassing for the sport. I mean, you have it was like 3,400 people in attendance at this game, and you had 11 AAA teams with more, and that right there is just not right. I mean, because one, you can hold a lot more than any AAA stadium can, and you're not even close to even filling half of it.
Yeah, it's brutal. And let's be honest here, the A's have some great uniforms. The green, yellow, the white just looks so good for some reason.
Especially when they kind of went back to like that Kelly green this last few years, the older, like the 80s, 70s. Yeah.
It was just a great combo. And a lot of teams don't there aren't bold enough to do that. But they were in Oakland, in California, and you could still get away with it in Las Vegas, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They got to do something.
Yeah. Well, speaking of quick games, Sandy, this reigning Cy Young champ, Sandy Alcantara threw a complete game in less than 2 hours. How awesome is that?
I thought it was so awesome.
I love it. The dude is
yeah.
ready to go. He's ready to work.
Yeah. You could tell he was like, just like, catch the ball, come set, let's go.
Yeah. Did you see the stat where it had pitches that people have not, like consecutive pitches thrown that people have not hit a home run on? And like the most people, like the highest was about 300 pitches or 400 or less, and it was like a fastball or curveball or whatever, probably not curveball, but fastball, two seam, stuff like that. Sandy's changeup is over 800. It's not even. I mean, that changeup is absolutely. You can't do damage with it. You could hit the ball in play, but you just can't do damage.
Yeah, you're not hitting it 117 miles per hour like you are a fastball. Yeah, or a hanging curveball or something.
We don't think he can win the Cy Young, but you keep doing those things.
Yeah, those things. Sandy is arguably the best pitcher in baseball, and it's sad that he is with Miami.
Not a Cardinal?
Yeah. I mean, just about any other team in baseball. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome to see the game moving the way it is through the first couple of weeks of baseball.
Yeah. Well, did you talk about the crowds and stuff like that? Did you see the Pirates game, their first home opener?
Yeah.
How big was that crowd?
Well, I couldn't tell you, honestly. I saw the crowd.
Yeah, I want to look it up real quick and see how big it was.
How much the attendance was, but I mean,
they won 13-9. It was just absolute scorcher.
And at least it's a nice stadium to go to, unlike Oakland.
It's a beautiful stadium.
Yeah, where Oakland's you have to worry about sewer rats and cats chasing them to eat.
Hey, the cats are helping the situation.
Reduce
let them go. They outnumber the fans.
Yeah.
That game was 39,167. It was a sellout.
Yeah.
And Andrew McCutcheon got a well-deserved ovation. Really long. But like you said, that's a great – PNC Ballpark is one of the just absolutely beautiful ballparks.
Yeah.
The game 2, they had it was down to 21,000. So you're like, okay, well, that was a Saturday game, I think. And the Sunday game – that's backwards. Sorry. Going back here. Sunday game 1-0 final. That one was the one we'll talk to you about here in just a second. There was a big injury in that one. That one was down to 10,000. People came out, one, because this is the season opener, but also obviously Andrew McCutcheon. That was one of the biggest reasons why people wanted to come to the Pirates and just say, hey, thanks. They're 6-3. People still aren't coming. If you spend some money, people will come and watch.
And then on top of that, you kind of got the short end of it that your home opening weekend is on Easter weekend. So that probably has to do with some of the attendance, because I guarantee a lot of people weren't going to the game on Easter, and people are traveling on Saturday to get to the place they're going for Easter. So that probably played into it a little bit.
Yeah. We got Oneil Cruz, who's now on the 10-day IL, which I don't think is long enough, but broke his foot on a bad slide into home, right? I mean, am I reading into that wrong? Is it a bad slide?
Yeah. I think I don't know if it was so much of a slide, but I think the catcher caught him off guard where he was and how far up the line he was, because you could see he was going to slide, and then notice the catcher was there and try to stop himself. And when he did, that back foot got caught in the ground, and the catcher applied the tag, and it pushed him backwards and just kind of broke the ankle.
Yeah.
Or fractured it at least.
Which sucks, because they obviously haven't spent a lot of money, but he's one of those guys that they're excited to have. Like Oneil Cruz was Jordan Walker last year. Like everybody was jumping off, talking about how excited they were to see this guy play shortstop at 6'7". I think you had some reservations. You're like, I don't know about it, right? Like, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Isn't that right? And he hasn't quite been incredible, but he's been good.
Yeah, it was the boomer bust factor that it was like either he's going to be nuclear white hot, one of the top players in baseball, or he's going to be a big bust because he isn't able to put it all together. But no, I mean, for baseball, it's terrible. For the Pirates, it's not a great situation, because like I said, it's going to probably hurt attendance, because I guarantee you a lot of people are going there to see Oneil Cruz play baseball and hope to see him hit, the ball 118 miles an hour, see him hit top end speed of 23 miles an hour running the base pass, or throw it 100 miles per hour across the diamond, see something, amazing from the guy.
Are you talking about Mason Wynn?
No.
Just kidding. He can't run that fast, but he can throw that fast, okay?
Yes, he can. Yeah. But, yeah, so, I mean, it hurts baseball, not just the Pirates. I think it hurts baseball, in a total.
And I felt like there were quite a few injuries this week. We're going to talk about some of those here in a second, but we'll get to the hot starts and some of the injuries that happened from there. But I want to know, Tyler Oneil gets sat. Lars Nootbaar has a hurt hand on a slide. Mm-hmm. So you look at those things, and the Cardinals, that's part of the reason why the Cardinals they can't pitch. Miles Michaelis is pitching tonight in Colorado. Have fun scoring 14 runs. So all those, I think Tyler Oneil, I didn't like it. I could not when I looked up, I was like, oh, that's going to be it's going to be one run in that game that I was watching. Mm-hmm. And I looked up, I was like, the inning is over. What are you talking about? We had 2 outs. He just had a single. And then sure enough, he gets thrown out. This is one of the fastest players on the team. And I don't think he hustled 100%. I don't think he gave it everything. I think he assumed he was going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets out the next day. A little spat happens. I'm siding with Ollie Marmol.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you watch the video, and he comes around, he rounds third, and he's literally jogging.
Yeah.
And then starts to try to put it on once he sees, oh, I'm about to get thrown out.
And he does.
Yeah, all for it. Marmol, sit him. Let him think about what he did. And maybe in the next couple of days, bring him back in, and hopefully he goes out there and actually hustles. But, yeah, I'm all for it. You guys, you're in the major leagues. You ain't going to go out there and put your all into it. Why should I put you in the game?
Yeah, 100%. And let managers manage the game, manage the team, make right calls. All right, so we're going to go to buy and sell some of the hot and cold starts of the year. Again, we're like 9 to 10 games into the season, maybe 11 if you played earlier today as you're listening to this. But one of the guys that's first on the list, we're going to hit, but he got hurt already. So
I know.
Adam Duvall, we saw him on the list, and poor guy already hurt. Broken hand, right? Wrist?
Yeah, broke his wrist, I think.
Which, it's kind of lame. I mean, I don't expect much of him. I wouldn't have bought his batting average, but the dude could hit 30 home runs and have 90 RBIs. But Boston's going to lose a guy who already had 5 home runs, I believe, and I think 14 RBIs, something like that. 4 and 5.
Yeah. Yeah, so, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs. Yeah. But now, I mean, I wasn't buying the hot start from him. You look at those career numbers, and you knew that there's no way that he was going to. I mean, I think we could take the batting average and stuff out of it because he didn't get a hit 400 the whole season. But, maybe get somewhere around 300. I wouldn't think that was possible either. I would expect it somewhere around the 240, 250 range. Yeah. So I don't buy the hot start from him. It's just, one of those things that you aren't expecting him to stay that hot.
Well, what about Matt Chapman, who we both, I think, said 220 would be his average at the end of the year? He is hitting 475, which very small sample size, but 475 over 10 games is still 475. How many?
Yeah.
He's got 14 RBIs already. I mean, the dude is hitting. I mean, he's in a great lineup too, so he's going to produce. Mm-hmm. He should produce.
Yeah, I think it's the thing for me is that we expect the strikeout numbers to be up high, and I imagine they'll climb. But 9 isn't awful with 4 walks, so the on base percentage is there, and I think that may be a bright spot you can look at and go, man, he's probably seeing pitches better because he does have a lineup around him with guys that can hit, and on top of that, I think he's finally fully just getting healthy after 3 years of just nagging injuries, where I thought maybe last year going to Toronto that we would see him, kind of take off and get better. But maybe I was a year early, and this is the year we see him finally get closer back to, those close to MVP numbers that he put up with the Oakland A's, where, he had the glove, he was hitting for decent average, hitting, power, and had the RBIs. So maybe we're seeing Chapman somewhat get closer back to that, style of play than what we've seen over the last 3-4 years.
Chapman has not produced a defensive WAR above 1 since he was with the A's in 21, and that was 1.3. And then he didn't do it the year before that in 2020. Obviously, he couldn't, but 3.5 and 2.2 the year before that. So I think, I mean, there was a while there that he was getting compared to Nolan Arenado, and I think Nolan still had the best one, but he's not doing. I mean, he's obviously off to a hot start. So look at.
So are you buying the hot start or are you selling the hot start?
I think just in the lineup, they're going to be great. I do not. I mean, obviously, 475 is not going to happen. I don't think 300 happens. He's probably going to strike out, like you said. I'd say 160 plus times, maybe 175. He's going to have some slumps, but Rogers Center this year, it's more hitter friendly. They added a little bit of that back into it, so I think he'll have a good season. I think it'll be better than his best season probably in Toronto. So I'll buy it in the sense of its best season in Toronto. You can't argue with. I mean, that's going to be good. So I don't think defensively. I think it's going to hold him back a little bit just from all the stuff that we've seen in the past.
Yeah,
we'll see. Bryan Reynolds, the Pirates. Some people think he's going to have a sneaky MVP season and fall short because he's with the Pirates. But I mean, are you buying MVP season from Bryan Reynolds?
No. I mean, I think he's a really good player. With a bad team, and so I think he could put up some solid numbers, and he is right now. I mean, 5 home runs, 15 RBIs. I mean, he's leading the majors in or he's second, I think, in the majors in home runs behind. I think Pete has 6, and then leads. No, I think Pete hit one today.
Oh, did he? Okay, yeah.
I want to say I think I saw him hit one today, and then 15 RBIs. So, do I think he can put up a really solid year? Yeah, but I don't think we're going to see anything crazy, like where he hits the 40 mark home run wise, or 110 plus RBIs. So I'm not buying it, but I'm not completely selling it. I think we see a really solid year, and it's a contract year. Honestly, he's trying to get that big extension, and I think that's so you could see a pretty good season from him.
Why is that a thing? Why do people say, "Oh, it's a contract year, so now he's going to play good," and then the Anthony Rendon thing happens and they're terrible? Why is that a thing? Why don't guys just play well? Why don't they always just stay locked in, focused, and working on this profession?
Honestly, it's the effort. It's effort thing that they do is that they go, "Oh, I'm gonna put in more effort because I want that big contract," and then typically what you see is them go, "Okay, I got my big contract. I can take it easy now."
Makes me so mad. I'm not buying MVP season with him. I think if you look at the end of the year, he'll probably have 25 home runs, probably 85 RBIs, and he'll hit probably 270. That's not MVP to me, but it's just me. All right, let's keep moving down the line. We got Wander Franco, one of the best all-around players, I think, in baseball. I do buy his hot start. I don't buy his health. Can I do that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, I 100% buy the hot start. I think this is a guy that is just waiting to break out, and this is the year. And granted, like we said before, they have played the 3 worst teams in baseball, and arguably the 3 worst rotations in baseball. Mm-hmm. But you still have to be able to hit the ball. And right now, was it 9 games into the season? He's only 3 home runs away from his season high of 7 his rookie year. So I think the hot start is pretty easy to buy, and this is not one you're going to want to sell because this is a chance. Because last week we did the overreactions, and I took Adley Rutschman MVP thing just because I thought it was least likely than the Wander Franco thing. This is a guy that you're looking at who could possibly push for that, sneaky guy push for the MVP this year that no one was really looking at. Yeah.
I mean, they were my pick in the AL, so just saying.
Yeah. You did.
All right, so let's keep going. We got Jeffrey Springs, another Tampa Bay Ray, another team that's played a bunch of bad teams. So I think but the Rays always put their pitchers in positions to win, and whether that's as a SPARP, the starting relief pitcher, starting pitcher as a relief pitcher, or whatever. Like they constantly do this. I think he's going to put up good numbers. I think he's going to put up roughly 160 innings. Hopefully, if he stays healthy, and he's going to get it done. I buy it just because he had the numbers last year to support what he's doing this year. and he's still going to get to play teams like Boston, Baltimore, who doesn't really want to win right now. I can see it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was like you said, I looked at the numbers last year, and you look at him, you go, okay, this is a guy that can really pitch.
Yeah.
And he's already showing this year. Yeah, granted, like you said, played bad teams, but the strikeout numbers are up. The Ks per 9. I mean, I don't think they're going to stay at the 13, but if it's somewhere still around like the 11 mark, I think we could see someone put up a really solid year. And yeah, I'll buy this hot start from him that he really is a really good pitcher.
Yeah. What about Seth Lugo?
I'm selling every single cent of this.
Really? Okay. Why? Yeah. Why aren't you buying?
History. This is the first year he's ever been a starting pitcher, and it's different than being in the bullpen. You started out the season, yeah, you pitched great. I'm expecting partway through the maybe a month from now, we see a guy where his ERA is probably around the 3.8, close to 4, struggling because teams are starting to figure out more of him as a starter than they as a relief pitcher. Yeah. It's going to be different from him trying to go out there, and yeah, you may get more appearances as a relief pitcher, but you're going to have to figure out how to manage the innings better going forward, and I think that'll be a problem for him as the season goes on.
And I don't buy Padres starting pitching yet. They haven't proven to be able to do it, and even Yu Darvish this year has been a little bit rough around the edges, just some of the outlying stats. So to me, that's why I'm a little bit more worried about it. And like you said, I think it's there. I mean, he hasn't really truly been a starter since 2017. He did a little bit in 18, but really since 2017. That's a long time. I guess 2020 he started a couple in the shortened season, but he didn't pitch much, like long into games because nobody was.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So last vet that we're going to talk about right now is Jesus Luzardo, finally finding some success after being such a highly touted prospect for so many years. Here he is getting some run. What do you think?
I buy this one hesitantly.
Ooh.
And it's not in. Yeah, it's not about the ability. It's about the history. He's a guy that's never started more than 18 games in the season. So at what point are the injuries going to catch up to him?
That's true. I think the biggest reason why I'm leaning towards yes is because the team he's on. If there's one thing that somehow Miami does better than almost anybody else, it's develop pitching. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Cardinals need to do to go pay and get those guys on our side, but they do a very good job. And even last year, not record-wise, 4-7, but a 3.32 ERA. He had 100 innings pitched. His walks and his whip was low. I don't know. I really like overall what it looks like with him being in Miami. So for that, and I mean, he's going to get to play the Nationals a ton. Yeah, I mean, come on.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know. I would lean towards more buying than selling on him, but it's close. But I would take him over Seth.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm buying him I'll take more shares of him than Seth any day.
Yeah. All right, now let's move on. We're going to go to some hot young players. We got 2 Cardinals here. So who are you more buying into? We got Nolan Gorman, who had 2 home runs early on in one game. Cooled off a little bit recently, as the whole Cardinals offense has with runners in scoring position. Or Jordan Walker, who continues to hit. He has hit in every single game.
You give me the rookie. Give me Jordan Walker. I think there's more there for Walker, that he's shown that compared to Gorman, that he has a better hit tool, as not just the power, but he can hit. He just can flat out hit. And I think that he has definitely started out this season as someone to watch going forward as the rookie of the year, the top rookie of the year candidate in the National League. I mean, him, Corbin Carroll's got off to a kind of up and down, start of the season.
He's also hit low in the lineup.
Yeah, he's starting to play a little bit better the last few games, but I think anyone did against Noah Syndergaard and against Michael Groves last night. But yeah, I mean, right now, 2 weeks into the season, if I had to change my pick, it would probably be Jordan Walker. But it's just, I mean, he's proven that he can just hit.
Yeah, he has. at every level.
Yeah.
I will say for him, he has 7 strikeouts to only 1 walk, which worries me, compared to Gorman's 7 strikeouts to 7 walks. Like, he's seen the ball really well this year, and he's laying off the pitches he couldn't last year. That's just part of experience. So for Jordan Walker, if he keeps going at it, just keep staying focused, he's a great ball player. So he could be. I would buy both. I think both of them will have roles in the middle of the season at some point, but I would buy both as productive players this season. I'm also biased as a Cardinals fan, so.
No, I mean, I agree. I really like both players as prospects. So I mean, it's not hard for me to look at them and go, yeah, I think both of these could have really good, MLB careers.
Yeah. What about with James Outman or Garrett Mitchell? Who are you more buying into right now?
I mean, it may be sound biased, but you give me Outman. The way the kid's played right now, I mean, he's tied for 8th in the major leagues in WAR right now at .08. Defensive wise, he's shown to be a really good defensive center fielder with strong arm. But the kid is just, the average is 290 something, but he's hitting the ball. Maybe the walk strikeout ratios, could be a little bit better, but he is a young guy. I mean, it's not awful. He's still, the Dodgers are one of the top teams when it comes to walks, or they may actually be number 1 in walks this year. But I see something about him that he was a guy that I said at the beginning of the year he could be a sneaky rookie of the year candidate that, everyone was talking Vargas, everyone's talking, Corbin, Jordan Walker, but this kid that, I mean, the numbers he put up through the system, I think could be a guy that, for the Dodgers, they have, I think, found their center fielder of the future hitting wise, defense, everything that we thought we had with Cody Bellinger, that hopefully we don't end up in the same hole.
Yeah. Well, that would be unfortunate. Cody Bellinger is not look great in the Cubs uniform overall.
No.
But I would also lean towards James Outman. I do love the numbers. I love the fact that he's also with the Dodgers. I just like that. Milwaukee hasn't done a great job as far as developing offensive consistency across the board. I mean, you look at some of their top prospects in the past and how they just haven't panned out. And I think that's kind of the problem that I've seen. Also, I just think the profiles are a little bit different overall.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at a guy like Outman and where he's at, he's going to be in a lineup where he can produce quite a bit. And his numbers, he hits for better power. He hits typically for about the same average overall. The thing for Garrett Mitchell, he's more of a speed guy than anything else. He doesn't hit for a lot of power overall. So I think 13 home runs total in the minors. So I think you're just going to lean towards why it's going to look better for the Dodgers.
And then I think early on, the strikeout numbers for Mitchell are a little up for me. 10 strikeouts, 2 walks, is high. And so that's another, I think that Outman has shown, like, as a Dodger, like most Dodgers, they're able to see pitches better than, I guess, a lot of other teams for some reason.
I don't know. All right, so you got some of the cold players. Pitcher-wise, we have Miles Mikolas or Zach Gallen. Who are you more worried about?
I'm not worried about either of them, honestly.
You're supposed to pick one because I was going to say that.
I'm not worried about it. I think you look at the Mikolas thing and you see the ERA and you see the earned runs and stuff like that, but he's only walked 1 guy. He's got 12 strikeouts for 1 walk. So it's not that he's walking a bunch of people. It's that he's not missing the bat. And that's something that you can work on. If he had like a big walk number, that would be something I'd be worried about, that he's not being able to, really hit his spots a whole lot, and I think swing and miss will be there. And especially that first game, there was a lot of broken bat bloopers that just dropped.
Soft contact.
And so it's something I'm not, overly worried about with him. And same with Gallen. I mean, Zach Gallen has proven he is one of the better pitchers in the National League the last few years. And I'm not worried a whole lot. And then the Diamondbacks are looking sneaky so far. And I think he'll get back to where, mid-3 ERA, maybe a little bit lower for both of the guys. I don't expect them to both have just bad seasons.
100% agree. I think by the end of the year, both of these guys look like they'd be top 3 in the rotation for most teams in the league. For both these guys, I wouldn't worry. It's early in the year. The innings haven't built up yet. They both were in the World Baseball Classic, so it wasn't a normal spring training, so I'm not super worried about it. Now, you look at the offensive side of it. I want to talk about two lefties first. Kyle Schwarber, Max Muncy. I am worried about Max Muncy. I think this is the writing on the wall has been there for a little bit, even last year. And this is just looks like is it almost done? Is his dominance done?
Yeah. No, honestly, right now, I'm buying both of them. I'm buying both of them cold start, Schwarber and Muncy. Schwarber maybe a little bit less, but Muncy, yeah, I think we've seen the Max Muncy, that we saw a few years ago just gone. And last year I gave him a pass because of the UCL injury. He wasn't fully healthy most of last year, and I thought, okay, we're gonna have a full year healthy. And the big thing is it's a guy that typically doesn't strike out a lot, has a really good eye, and just last year wasn't able to really make a lot of hard contact. And this year we're seeing a guy strike out at an alarming rate for him.
Yeah.
I mean, 16 strikeouts is,
Yeah, he does have 7 walks. He still walks quite a bit, but he's not hitting the ball very well at all, I think. And we have not seen his slugging percentage back up to what you'd want it to be when he was really good for that 3-ish years for a while. I think the writing's on the wall. I think it's unfortunate, but because he was a great story, but I think it is.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for a third baseman at some point, or a second baseman, and move Vargas back to third. But yeah, we've seen the greatness of Max Muncy, and it didn't last long. It was a great story, like you said, but yeah, I think it's done for him.
Yeah. Well, Kyle Schwarber, another 30-year-old left-handed hitting slugger. Last year, 46 RBIs. This year, 195. You said you're selling him already. A lot of people picked him to have a dominant season, especially with no more shift. He's got off to a really cold start, obviously. That's why he's on the list. 13 strikeouts, only 2 walks. He's typically been a guy who can walk pretty well, so that is pretty low for him.
Yeah, I'm selling. I'm buying the cold start. I think this is a guy that over the last few years, the home run numbers have outweighed everything else. I mean, he batted 224 last year, had 40 whatever home runs. I think this is a guy that we're finally going to see. I'm not going to say the home run numbers are going to be down a whole lot, but I think they're going to be down compared to normal for him. And the average is going to be down even more. Even like you said, this is a guy we thought with the shift it was going to help him out a lot. And as of right now, he's not making contact with the ball. He's striking out a lot. He's not walking. So there has to be some worry. So I'm gonna buy the cold start from him.
Yeah, and then Bobby Witt Jr.
I sell. It's tough because he's a young guy, and he has gotten a few home runs over the last couple of games, so maybe that helps jumpstart it. But he's young, and there's a lot of people who are like, oh, we're seeing he's going to be a bust. I've seen a lot of people talk. Oh, it's like, man, it's a guy that's played 10 games this year. I think what are they 3-7?
Well, yeah, and the offense for everybody.
Everybody,
absolute trash.
What? They had one. I don't know what it's at now, but last time I watched them play, I think it was Friday or Saturday, they had one guy hitting over 200, and that was Salvador Perez. Everyone else in that starting lineup was hitting under 200.
Yeah, it's been a bleak start to the year for the Kansas City Royals, but I think they're 3-6, so it could be worse. You could be the Cardinals at 3-6.
No, so yeah, I'm not buying the cold start. He started out slow last year too. He's a young guy. I mean, we've seen a lot of these young guys. I mean, Volpe, he started out, first couple of games looked okay. Now we've got a guy hitting 160 something and not being able to get on base. Gunnar Henderson struggling. Before this last series, Julio Rodriguez, he was struggling. He was hitting, in the 180s, 170s. So give the young guys a chance to figure things out.
Yeah, he's 22, people.
Yeah.
Calm down. He's going to be fine. And I think that's a good point. Young guy, he's going to be fine. Especially as it heats up. Games in Kansas City the last couple of weeks are in the 40s. Jeez, it was cold. So, and baseball weather in October.
Yeah, gotta love that baseball weather. 40 degrees.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to some of the teams real quick as we wrap up the show. So you're looking at Tampa Bay. We've talked about them a little bit. I think I'm still buying. I don't think they're going to go 162-0 or win 110 games. I think they're going to push 95 to 100, 102 wins, maybe max. But they should.
Yeah.
They are obviously my pick to be there.
Yeah. There's definitely no way they're going perfect, but you got to weigh a little bit more into the 9-0 than what people are saying. Oh, they're just dominating.
Yeah,
pay attention a little bit more.
Yeah, I think Yankees and Toronto. You look at them also. Both of them. Toronto's had some rough pitching so far, but that team is going to be fine. You look at they're going to be fine. So, same thing. The Yankees. These three teams should probably make the playoffs. Twins at 6-4. The White Sox are still doing White Sox things. I think if you looked at this, they would be 6-6 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, as this is released, I wouldn't be surprised if they're 6-6.
One bright spot, or there's actually two. Moncada looks solid so far through the first few games, and Luis Roberts has looked really good. So maybe there's some bright spots there, but the starting pitching, Giolito and Lance Lynn, wow.
Yeah. Again, don't worry about the pitchers yet. As you get closer to May, I think then if it's still looking like this, that's when you start to really be worried. But they need them. This is a very winnable division if the White Sox.
Oh yeah,
very winnable division with Detroit and Kansas City, Minnesota, Cleveland. None of these teams are going to push. I don't know that any of these teams are really going to put 90 wins up on the board. So it's a very doable job here. Angels at 5-4. Yeah, here we are again. This time last year, we were saying the same thing. Angels are going to win the division. This year, they're only 5-4 so far. But they do have a plus 15 run differential, while Houston, back at third at 4-6, only have a plus 3.
Uh-oh. It's happening. No.
This is what we've all been waiting for.
Yeah. This is what baseball has been hoping for, is to see the Astros finally fall off. Now, I don't buy any of the starts from the Rangers or the Angels at all, or even buy the start for Houston.
I think I buy it for Texas.
I don't.
At 5-4, if you look at it down the road, I think that they'll be, 85, 88 wins. I think that's doable for them.
Maybe, but you got to look at the starting pitching. I mean, Andrew Heaney just got absolutely smoked. How long is he going to pitch? How long is DeGrom going to pitch? You got Nathan Eovaldi. Your starting rotation, there's a lot of question marks.
A lot of question marks. You're 100% right. So are you buying? So who wins this division right now? I mean, obviously we said Houston, but who's the? I mean, is it just Seattle? Like it's them or Seattle, right?
Yeah, that's. I'm gonna go with what at the beginning of the season. I think it's Seattle is the only team that can challenge them for that division, and there's still some question marks out about Seattle.
Yeah, I think that's realistic, though. I do think that the wild card run for the Rangers is there, although they were also last year in the second half after the break. I did not end up getting that one right. But
hey, it happens.
Coming back down to earth, the Braves. Ooh.
Man, they got a lot of injuries.
I know, which I don't want to see injuries, but I don't like the Braves. I don't like the Mets. I don't like the Phillies. I don't like I don't like anybody.
No, I mean, makes sense. Yeah, the Phillies. I kind of feel like this is something that I expected.
You did.
I had this feeling, and like I said, we're only a week and a half into the season, so all of this could be minute next week. It could be, we see the Phillies go on a run, not lose a game this week, or be right, back in first place in this division. But there's also a really, for me, I think there's a really realistic chance we see this team next month and we go, man, they are very underwhelming right now.
Yeah. They're going to have to hope Bryce Harper gets back quick. More likely to finish the season with 81 wins or more. The Pirates or the Cubs. Both are at 500 or better. The Pirates are technically 6-3.
Man, that's tough. I would like to see the Pirates because I'm not a big Cubs guy, but I'm going to go with the Cubs because I think they have a little bit better possibility with some, as a whole, I think. I mean, we're seeing Rowanski Contreras look like ace right now, but I'm sure there'll be some growing pains from him. Oneil Cruz, that's going to hurt, in their lineup. But I think there's just maybe a little bit better consistency with the Cubs.
Yeah, the Pirates are also getting smoked right now by the Astros as we record.
Makes sense.
I think both teams more likely to get to 81 wins. Neither, most likely, but more likely is probably the Cubs. Although I'd like to see Pittsburgh be better, more so than the Cubs. Pittsburgh just hasn't had a lot of success, and their fans deserve it. Cubs fans don't. They're a bunch of bandwagon.
Cubs fans don't.
Just the worst. All right, so then you got the Diamondbacks. Everyone loves the Diamondbacks this year. They've been a lot of sleeper teams. They're still at -3 in the run differential, probably because they played the Dodgers. But at 6-4, this team is running. This team is pitching well overall, and they're scoring some runs.
Yeah. No, I mean, this was my sleeper pick to make a push for the playoffs. So I'm buying it in a sense. Do I think they win the division? No. I still think the Dodgers figure something out. I mean, even with the Dodgers losing last night and the night before, they still put up runs. And it was just 2 bad starts from Syndergaard, who looked rough, and then Michael Groves. I don't understand why he's in the rotation, even with Pepio and Gonsolin out. I'd rather see Gavin Stone in there because or Andre Jackson, I think, as that 5th starter until Pepio or Gonsolin is healthy. But, I mean, he gives up 9 earned runs in 3 1/3 innings. So, yeah, 2 bad starts from them. I'm not worried about them a whole lot. Miguel Vargas, there is a little bit of a got hit in the hand and hasn't looked completely healthy over the last few games. So there's some worry there. But, yeah, no, I'm going to buy the Diamondback start to a certain point that this is what I thought could happen. I mean, this is a team that you don't want to play.
They're going to be that scrappy team that's going to not let you be out of it. Even if you're up by 2 or 3 runs, they get guys on the base pass. Like Corbin Carroll, still 2 bags real quick. So it can add a lot more pressure. I want to say, I don't feel like I know for the fact the Cardinals are not stealing enough bases. They're not trying. I don't understand. I think it's all about a timing thing of guys to the plate. But if you're not putting pressure on them, then what's the point? Put pressure. Guys got to keep running, and trying. I think the Cardinals' leading stolen base getters 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way the Dodgers are. But the argument for the Dodgers is they don't have anyone on that team, really. They've got Vargas, and that's about it.
Mookie Betts, kind of.
Mookie is he's not fast, but he's, wily on the base pass.
It would have been Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, but you have to get on base first to steal bases.
Oh, yeah, the old Billy Hamilton excuse.
Yeah. You might be able to nab every bag, but you got to get on base first before you can steal that bag.
Yeah. Well, I think going forward, I mean, this week we're going to see more teams, obviously, just get into that groove of the rhythm a little bit more. I think some of the hot starts cool back down. You're going to have the slumps, the 0 for 9s, the 2 for 11s. That's going to come back into play as you go into it. But it's April. A lot of teams are still getting in those first games. If you haven't been to a baseball game yet, you need to go. You need to go because you never know what you're going to see, whether it's going to be Major League Baseball, a prospect debuts. You could also see a no-hitter. You could see a no-hitter with a AA team and still lose. How many people get to say they got to do that?
Oh, that's got to be one of the best stat lines ever. I mean, you go, hey, we didn't get a hit, but we still won 7-5.
Yeah, and it's such a Los Angeles Angels thing, 100% an Angels thing. I
mean, yeah, they hit a total of 5 batters, walked 5, and had 1 fielding error in that inning. And you gave up 7 runs somehow to a team that couldn't even put the ball in play, really.
Yeah, well, no reason to put the ball in play if you can't get over the plate.
I guess, yeah.
And for it's that epitome of Mike Trout did something this, and Shohei Ohtani did something that hasn't been done ever, and they lost today to the A's 8-3. It was the epitome of an A's organization, not an A's, an Angels organization. Right there.
And this points to everything we've said the last couple weeks. Doesn't matter if you can throw hard; it's if you can locate your pitches. And Ben Joyce is a guy that can hit 100, 101, 103, 100. I think he hit 104 in college, at Tennessee.
Yeah.
If you can't put your pitches where they need to be, you ain't going to succeed. And it definitely showed.
Well, tell that to Jordan Hicks, who is walking like 2 batters every inning minimum right now. Stop throwing 104. And when he first started doing it, I loved it. I was like, it's so nice for the Cardinals to finally have a team that can do the play that can do this, but he can't get the ball over the plate ever.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take Clayton Kershaw that can throw at 93 and hit the spot every time over a guy that can throw 104 and hit the spot maybe once every 5 pitches.
That's what you want. That's what you want, man. Yep. Well, guys, that is all the time we have for today's show, but we will be with you all throughout the week with some more videos on YouTube and on the social media. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the show on YouTube at the W Sports Podcast. You can join the chat every single week, be like some of the great people who support us every single week. Thank you guys, everyone, for being in the chat today, for coming and hanging out with us and participating, throwing out questions. You guys make this so stinking fun. To be here every single Monday night. And yes, we are here every Monday night at 6:30 live. We record, unless schedule changes, but that's pretty much the routine each and every week.
And we'll let you know. We'll let you know if the schedule changes.
100%. Yeah.
We're cool like that.
Yeah, we are. Well, mostly Tubby, but I'm trying my hardest here. So. But we're on the road now to 250 subscribers on YouTube. So if you haven't already, please consider doing it today, as we are on the road to get there, and we will have another giveaway as we get to that point. So we already gave away a signed NFL jersey, and yeah, you bet there's going to be more on the way. So,
oh yeah.
Till then, guys, I guess we're going to see you all next week.
See ya.
See ya. Got to hit all those right buttons this time. Last week I forgot to hit